Chapter 8. Arson and other crimes involving destructions. Article 320. Destructive arson. The penalty of reclusion temporal in its maximum period to reclusion perpetua shall be imposed upon any person who shall burn 1. Any arsenal, shipyard, storehouse or military powder or fireworks factory, ordnance, storehouse, archives or general museum of the government. 2. Any passenger train or motor vehicle in motion or vessel out of port. 3. In an inhabited place, any storehouse or factory of inflammable or explosive materials. Article 321. Other forms of arson. When the arson consists in the burning of other property and under the circumstances given hereunder, the offender shall be punishable. 1. By reclusion temporal or reclusion perpetua. A. If the offender shall set fire to any building, farmhouse, warehouse, hut, shelter, or vessel in port, knowing it to be occupied at the time by one or more persons. B. If the building burned is a public building and value of the damage caused exceeds 6,000 pesos. C. If the building burned is a public building and the purpose is to destroy evidence kept therein to be used in instituting prosecution for the punishment of violators of the law, irrespective of the amount of the damage. D. If the building burned is a public building and the purpose is to destroy evidence kept therein to be used in legislative, judicial or administrative proceedings, irrespective of the amount of the damage, provided, however, that if the evidence destroyed is to be used against the defendant for the prosecution of any crime punishable under existing laws, the penalty shall be reclusion perpetua. E. If the arson shall have been committed with the intention of collecting under an insurance policy against loss or damage by fire. 2. By reclusion temporal. A. If an inhabited house or any other building in which people are accustomed to meet is set on fire, and the culprit did not know that such house or building was occupied at the time, or if he shall set fire to a moving freight train or motor vehicle, and the value of the damage caused exceeds 6,000 pesos. B. If the value of the damage caused in paragraph B of the preceding subdivision does not exceed 6,000 pesos. C. If a farm, sugar mill, cane mill, mill central, bamboo groves or any similar plantation is set on fire and the damage caused exceeds 6,000 pesos, and D. If grain fields, pasture lands, or forests, or plantings are set on fire, and the damage caused exceeds 6,000 pesos. 3. By prison mare. A. If the value of the damage caused in the case mentioned in paragraphs A, C, and D, in the next preceding subdivision does not exceed 6,000 pesos. B. If a building not used as a dwelling or place of assembly, located in a populated place, is set on fire, and the damage caused exceeds 6,000 pesos. 4. By prison correctional in its maximum period to prison mare in its medium period. A. If a building used as dwelling located in an uninhabited place is set on fire and the damage caused exceeds 1,000 pesos. B. If the value or the damage caused in the case mentioned in paragraphs C and D of subdivision 2 of this article does not exceed 200 pesos. 5. By prison correctional in its medium period to prison mare in its minimum period, when the damage caused is over 200 pesos but does not exceed 1,000 pesos, and the property referred to in paragraph A of the preceding subdivision is set on fire, but when the value of such property does not exceed 200 pesos, the penalty next lower in degree than that prescribed in this subdivision shall be imposed. 6. The penalty of prison correctional in its medium and maximum periods, if the damage caused in the case mentioned in paragraph B of subdivision 3 of this article does not exceed 6,000 pesos but is over 200 pesos. 7. The penalty of prison correctional in its minimum and medium periods, if the damage caused in the case mentioned paragraph B, subdivision 3 of this article does not exceed 200 pesos. 8. The penalty of arresto mea and a fine ranging from 50 to 100% if the damage caused shall be imposed, when the property burned consists of grain fields, pasture lands, forests, or plantations when the value of such property does not exceed 200 pesos. Article 322. Cases of arson not included in the preceding articles. Cases of arson not included in the next preceding articles shall be punished. 1. By arresto mea in its medium and maximum periods, when the damage caused does not exceed 50 pesos. 2. By arresto mea in its maximum period to prison correctional in its minimum period, when the damage caused is over 50 pesos but does not exceed 200 pesos. 3. By prison correctional in its minimum and medium periods, if the damage caused is over 200 pesos but does not exceed 1,000 pesos, and 4. By prison correctional in its medium and maximum periods, if it is over 1,000 pesos. Article 323. Arson of property of small value. The arson of any uninhabited hut, storehouse, barn, shed, or any other property the value of which does not exceed 25 pesos, committed at a time or under circumstances which clearly exclude all danger of the fire spreading, shall not be punished by the penalties respectively prescribed in this chapter, but in accordance with the damage caused and under the provisions of the following chapter. Article 324. Crimes involving destruction. Any person who shall cause destruction by means of explosion, discharge of electric current, inundation, sinking or stranding of a vessel, intentional damaging of the engine of said vessel, taking up the rails from a railway track, maliciously changing railway signals for the safety of moving trains, destroying telegraph wires and telegraph posts, or those of any other system, and, in general, by using any other agency or means of destruction as effective as those above enumerated, shall be punished by reclusion temporal if the commission has endangered the safety of any person, otherwise, the penalty of prison mea shall be imposed. Article 325. Burning one's own property as means to commit arson. Any person guilty of arson or causing great destruction of the property belonging to another shall suffer the penalties prescribed in this chapter, even though he shall have set fire to or destroyed his own property for the purposes of committing the crime. Article 326. Setting fire to property exclusively owned by the offender. If the property burned shall be the exclusive property of the offender, he shall be punished by arresto mea in its maximum period to prison correctional in its minimum period. If the arson shall have been committed for the purpose of defrauding or causing damage to another, or prejudice shall actually have been caused, or if the thing burned shall have been a building in an inhabited place. Article 326a. In cases where death resulted as a consequence of arson. If death resulted as a consequence of arson committed on any of the properties and under any of the circumstances mentioned in the preceding articles, the court shall impose the death penalty. Article 326b. Prima facie evidence of arson. Any of the following circumstances shall constitute prima facie evidence of arson. 1. If after the fire are found materials or substances soaked in gasoline, kerosene, petroleum, or other inflammables, or any mechanical, electrical, chemical or traces or any of the foregoing. 2. That substantial amount of inflammable substance or materials were stored within the building not necessary in the course of the defendant's business, and 3. That the fire started simultaneously in more than one part of the building or locale under circumstances that cannot normally be due to accidental or unintentional causes, provided, however, that at least one of the following is present in any of the three above-mentioned circumstances. A. That the total insurance carried on the building and or goods is more than 80% of the value of such building and or goods at the time of the fire. B. That the defendant after the fire has presented a fraudulent claim for loss. The penalty of prison correctional shall be imposed on one who plants the articles above mentioned, in order to secure a conviction, or as a means of extortion or coercion,